So tonight's talk is my yearly, one of my absolute favorite talks that I ever give. This is about New Year's resolutions, and it's really about goal setting. New Year's resolutions, in my experience, it has a tendency to be very kind of like a nebulous exercise in futility. Like I was mentioning at the end of the last class, my goal is to be healthy. I'm going to be healthier this year. What does that mean? It means precisely nothing. And so when you make a kind of nebulous, open goal like that, what you get is nebulous response and results. You get basically the amount of energy that you put into actually setting the goal and deciding what it's going to be is going to be definitely directly proportional to or a corollary to what you get out of it at the end. So don't just think, I'm just going to go, and that's going to be enough. If you don't have something specific in mind, it's so easy to just kind of go up and down and fall off the whole thing. So this is going to be a little bit of like a companion talk to the last week's talk, which is also about just going out and getting things done, because it's not enough to just set the goal. You have to actually do the things, and you've got to have either the motivation or the ability to do it without motivation, which is incredibly important. So I'm gonna give you guys a general overview, and then we'll kind of, if you have some ideas for what your goals are going to be for this year, we'll workshop a few of them. This is going to be a workshop meditation talk. So the acronym that I like to use is a very common one, and it's SMART goals, and each letter in SMART stands for something. So the S is for specific, and there are different variations of this, but this is the one that I use. So specific, measurable, achievable, reasonable, and timely. And there's some overlap between what some of these things mean, but the general idea is, rather than making this general goal that doesn't have a lot behind it, that doesn't have any specifics, you want to be very specific. You want to have either the results or the effort be measurable, and if you can have both things be measurable, then that's great. You want it to be achievable, which means that it is literally something that is possible to do, and there's a lot of room in there. But if it's like, my goal is to be the first person on Mars this year, that might not happen for you. It's got to be achievable. Reasonable sounds kind of like a cop-out, and in some cases it is, but the reasonable goal kind of speaks to the idea that a lot of people just make these big grand goals that are, even though achievable, they end up ultimately not happening because we're choosing something that's kind of too big for us to actually accomplish in the amount of time, or we're actually kind of going into it with this self-sabotage in mind, even if it's just subconsciously. It's like, I'm going to do this amazing thing. I'm going to go to Mars, knowing that somewhere you will recognize this is actually impossible. So I'm just really letting myself off the hook by making this unreasonable goal. And timely. So there's got to have some kind of a time component, and that might be, I'm doing something every day, like we were talking about stretching. I'm stretching every day. Or it might be that by this amount of time, by February of 2019, I will have accomplished this. Or by the end of the year, I will have accomplished this. So there's got to be some kind of a time component. And you could say that all of this just fits into specific, and it kind of does, but this way of looking at it and breaking it down, I find is very helpful. So I'll start with one of my goals, and then you guys can raise your hand and tell me about some of yours. So I'll start at least with the goal that I have every year since I started practicing meditation, which is to meditate every day. This year, 2019, I'm going to meditate every single day. And that's already kind of getting into the breaking it down into a SMART goal. So the general goal would be like, I want to have more focus, more calm, more peace in my life. And so the method that I'm choosing to do that, the specific way I'm going to do that, is meditating every day. So the specific is, I know that if I want this end result, I've got to break it down into the actions that I'm going to take. That's part of the specificity of it. So meditation, daily meditation. And the measurableness of it is a couple of things. I've got to do it every single day. I've got to do it for an hour, and it doesn't have to be an hour in a chunk, but it's got to be an hour throughout the day. I can meditate 60 times for 1 minute if I want to. I can meditate once for an hour. I usually do it in chunks of between 15 and 30 minutes, as many times as it takes until I have meditated. If I get to the end of the day and I have not meditated for an hour, I don't go to bed until I finished it. Even if I have to do a whole hour and I'm just dead tired, I would just do one of these meditations and get through it and get the benefits of at least I was able to do it. As much as I did not feel like doing it, I did it anyways. And measurable, there are different ways that you can measure the quality of a meditation. And for me to say that I'm getting to a certain amount of depth is the most difficult thing to measure. So I'm going to leave that out of it. But what I know I can measure is how often I do it and how long I do it for. Achievable? Certainly achievable, because I did it last year, so I know I can do it this year. And this is something that I'm going to say, for every single person in the world, it is certainly achievable to meditate every day. For your life, maybe it's not achievable to meditate for an hour every day, but probably it is. But I'll say this, when we move on to reasonable, for me, it would be unreasonable to say I'm going to meditate every day for 5 hours. It would still be achievable, but it would be very unlikely that I would actually complete the year having meditated every single day for 5 hours. Now, for me to say 5 hours is, for a lot of people, like saying I'm going to meditate every single day for an hour. That might be too much for you to handle your first go at it. So instead you say, I'm going to meditate every day for 10 minutes. And if that is going from 0 minutes a day, or just sometimes when I feel like meditating, I do it, to consistently I'm meditating 10 minutes every single day, that's something. That's a big jump in the right direction. So that is reasonable. And timely, I kind of have already talked about the time being how much time I'm spending doing it and doing it every single day. So that's all kind of built into it. It's a very simple goal. And you can use that same basic way of looking at it to go after anything. My goal is to get stronger this year. I want to get physically stronger. Okay, so choose something. I'm going to choose push-ups. So I choose something with push-ups where I'm doing X number of push-ups every day. Let's say I'm going to do 100 push-ups every single day. It's specific because the kind of push-up that I'm doing looks exactly like this. It's not like, flopping on the ground. You're not doing junior wushu push-ups. You're doing wushu push-ups. You're doing like a kung fu push-ups, like the real deal push-up. Every single one looks like that. It's measurable because I know I did 100 and I'm done. That's it. It's certainly achievable and reasonable. All of you guys can do, if you have 2 arms, you can do 100 push-ups in a day, every day for the rest of the year. You might have to do it in sets of 10 or sets of 5, but you can certainly do that. And it's timely because you say, I'm going to do it every single day for this entire year. Or you could get into something a little bit more, you want to get a little bit more complicated with it. You say, I'm going to do 100 push-ups a day for the first 3 months. And then I'm going to kick it up to 150 push-ups every day for the next 3 months. And then I'm going to kick it up to 200 push-ups a day for the next 3 months. And by the end of the year, I'm banging out 250 push-ups. I believe that's how the math goes. And that's really something. And that is, you can see how you start with something like 250 push-ups a day might seem like a ridiculous amount, but maybe you're starting with 10 push-ups a day and you're working your way up. So this method of breaking down a goal, of being very specific, having something measurable, achievable, reasonable, and timely is hugely important. So let's hear from you guys. What is something that you have either thought about in these terms, or I just have an idea in my mind, it's something that I want to do, it's something that I want to go in this direction of, and we want to work it out. And I'm not actually going to hold you to this thing. If we work it out and you decide to change it because I want to actually make it harder, great. It's totally fine with me. But what is something that you guys have been thinking of? And if it's somebody out there in the internet world, you guys can type it in the comments and Miss Maisie will tell me about it. Go.
First, I have 3 types of goals and I wanted to one nebulous goal,
Mm-hmm.
one medium range goal, and one simple goal. I
Okay.
think I'll work on the simple goal, but I'll tell you what my nebulous goal is.
Sure.
Because I realize, and I don't know what the time frame is, I guess I would like to earn another higher belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu whenever.
You want to earn a higher belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? That's not nebulous. That's unreasonable. And now you're saying you don't have a time frame.
No time frame.
Great. Well, that's an easy one. You're going to get it someday if you keep coming to class. As soon as I start handing out rank in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, then you'll be able to start working towards that. That's certainly a goal that we could work on with this talk, but let's choose a different one because it's got a lot of factors in place that we don't really know about yet.
Right. Then I won't mention my medium range goal. Then I'll mention my simple goal.
Great.
And
Simple is best.
But it will improve all aspects of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just to get enough sleep and at least sleep early.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been able to do that since I was a kid. So,
This is the year. This is the year that you will sleep. I give my Sifu guarantee and blessing. I want to sleep more. And maybe if we back out a little bit more than that, it's like I want to be more well rested, or I want to have better focus throughout the day, or better energy, or whatever else it is.
at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep.
So that's getting more specific now. So the specific and getting into the timely as well is I want to get at least 7. So when you say 7 or 8, that has a tendency to confuse it for you in your mind. So I like choosing. If it's going to be 7, it's 7. It's 8, it's 8.
It's hard, but
It is hard. But what are we doing here? we're not going to spend the year doing easy stuff. So I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep. And is it every day?
at least 5 days a week. Let's be reasonable.
That is fine. You can do that. Now, I happen to know that the way that sleep works, it's best if you get the same amount of sleep every day. But if you don't think that that's going to be reasonable or even achievable for you, then let's say 5 days out of the week, we're getting more specific. We're really fleshing this thing out. Are there specific 5 days that you have in mind? Is it going to be Monday through Friday every week, or?
Only weekdays.
So definitely every Monday through Friday, now is it Sunday night I've got to sleep 8 hours? Or is it Monday night through Friday night?
Well, Sunday night, at least I've made up for the sleep deprivation. So,
But you see where I'm getting at. So you've got to either choose. If you're saying 5 days and you're doing them all in a row, you got to either do Sunday night through Thursday night I have to sleep 8 hours, knowing that Friday I don't have to sleep as much because I don't have to work on Saturday. Or you say, no, it's Monday night through Friday night,
I guess I should say start on Sunday, but your sleep pattern is different on Saturday and Sunday.
I got it. Well, let's start with this. So let's say starting Sunday night all the way through Thursday night, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I've got to get 8 hours of sleep at least. So that's specific and that's measurable. Now let's get even more into measurable. Is sleep, I'm laying down in bed and closing my eyes, I'm not on my phone, I'm not sleeping in a chair because I was trying to meditate but I just fell asleep. It's like I'm in bed, whether or not you are actually literally sleeping that time, or do you want to say that I have to actually literally be asleep?
In order to say that, I have to say I have to prepare for sleep an hour before.
But that's getting into something else. Let's stick with this. So the 8 hours that we're talking about, my suggestion is I'm in bed for the 8 hours, not doing anything else.
Exactly. I would say no later than 12, but since I wake up at 7,
That gets into more details of time. Let's get to that later on. But that's good that you're thinking about that. Bless you. So measurable means 8 hours I'm in bed. Maybe your eyes are closed, maybe they're not, but you're not looking at your phone, you're not doing anything else, you're not doing sit-ups in bed. You're laying there, still and quiet. So achievable, certainly achievable, and a lot of people listening to this talk are like, I could do 12 hours a day, that's my goal this year. And some people are listening to it thinking there's absolutely no way in my wildest imagination that I could possibly get 8 hours of sleep every night, even for 5 nights in a row. Okay, for you, it's achievable, and I would say that it's reasonable, right?
When I think of, I've never ever gone to bed earlier than 12, and so in my mind, I don't know how I'm going to do that unless I knock myself out.
Well, you can start getting into the medication side of it or whatever you want to get into on your own. But let's just say that it's reasonable, right? Now, if you said I've got a serious issue with my body where I literally just can't lay down for 8 hours, then that's something. Or I have some insane thing going on with my schedule where it makes it literally impossible. But I think it's achievable and it's reasonable. And then timely. So now you should really get into, what are the hours that you're sleeping. My suggestion is if you do the same time, if you say I am absolutely in bed by 12 and I'm out of bed at 8 o'clock, then that's going to be the highest likelihood that you're actually going to get this done. If you say, I just have to do it 8 hours throughout the day at some point. Maybe I'll take a nap if I didn't actually sleep that much at night, or whatever it is that I need to do to get to the end of the day. Like for my meditation goal, the easiest way to ensure that I'm actually going to do it is the same exact time. Maybe I do a half an hour from 8 o'clock till 8:30 in the morning, because that's actually when I wake up, because that's the life of a Sifu. And I do it every night right before I go to bed from 11:30 until 12 o'clock, because I'm in bed by 12 o'clock, like a good person. That would be the highest likelihood that I'm going to get that done, because even though it seems like, but wait a minute, that means that you're saying that you have to do it at those times, and doesn't that make it more difficult to do it? If you think of it that way, sure. But if you take out all of the options for failure, or the options for getting to the end of the day and it just didn't happen, then it's more likely that it's going to happen, right? So something that you do every day, like brushing your teeth, if you just say, I'm going to brush my teeth at some point today, I don't know when it's going to be, that's much less likely to get done than if you brush your teeth every single morning, after you eat breakfast or before you leave the house, and every single night right before you go to bed. And if you want to have great teeth, you could brush your teeth once in the middle of the day right after lunch. And it's like, I know that these are the times that I do it. So with sleep, do you want to take that on and say that I'm doing it from 12 o'clock, I'm in bed at 12 o'clock, and I'm out of bed by 8 o'clock?
Yes.
And you can make that work with your life? You don't need to be anywhere before 8 o'clock or leave the house? Or
The thing is, I'm too ambitious, because I always wake up at 7 despite how late I sleep, and that's not good for me.
Mm-hmm.
So how about we do 7 and then
we're already backpedaling on it. Look, and this might happen. You get to the end and you realize, actually, this is not possible for me, or it is not reasonable for me. So I'm going to decide, okay, I can do 7 hours. So I'm going to be sleeping from 12 o'clock until 7 o'clock?
Yes.
You are going to be doing
I
that.
would definitely do that.
Great. And maybe you'll get a week into it and miss a day. And this is another part of the talk, which I'm just going to do right now, which is what happens so often is we have these amazing intentions and we go into it, we are gung-ho, it's like I'm going to absolutely crush it this year, and then early on, within the first day, week, month, whatever, I miss whatever it is. I miss a day of meditation, or I miss a day of 7 hours of sleep. And then, where does your mind go? What is the very first thing that you think as soon as that happens? Maybe. I'll tell you what most people do is they think, well, I guess I'm not going to do it this year. I just missed a day. That's it. So you just give yourself a pass for the rest of the year, because human beings are just looking for any chance, any possible, like just the littlest whiff of a way out. And the first, you're like, I only slept for 6 hours and 59 minutes last night. Well, I guess that's not going to happen this year. You guys have heard this story before. I made it a goal to eat vegan for an entire year, and literally the first thing that I did was eat a piece of chocolate that after I checked the label realized that it was milk chocolate. So the literal first thing that I did after setting the goal going into the new year was eating something that was not vegan. And since I have experienced this many times in my own goal setting in life, I knew that the first thing that I was going to want to say is, well, I guess I'm not doing it this year. I'll wait until next year. And you just lose that entire year of doing whatever it is that you wanted to do. And I want you to consider that on one hand, actually, if you're doing something that is a daily goal, it's something that I have to do every single day, which again, I think it makes things simple and really nice. Being able to do that without missing a day is incredible. On some level, it's more incredible to mess up and then get right back on it without skipping a beat, because you have taken away that temptation to just give up at the first opportunity, and to just say to yourself, like, well, when it doesn't go perfectly, I just give up and I'll just do it next year. That I'll do it next year, man, next year is going to be 20 years from now, because you're going to keep doing this every single year. But if you refuse and you say, I missed that day, okay, I'm right back on it the next day, and I do it for the rest of that year, and that one day was a blip, and I actually accomplished what I wanted to accomplish in the vast majority of the sense or of the spirit of the goal. Anybody else have an idea that they want to work out right now? Nobody out there has anything? Everyone is too afraid because you're thinking, I'm going to write a check with my mouth that I can't cash at the end of the year. I'm going to ask you and you're going to say, I slept 5 hours a day. No one's got something?
Well, I have a question.
Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Because I think goals can be achieved if the person really wants it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people say it, but they don't. And that's why with sleeping, I say it, but I don't really. The reason why I haven't achieved it is because I probably never wanted to sleep early.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to change the mindset where I have to enjoy sleeping early.
You might. This is getting into the next thing that I want to talk about, but let's rewind a little bit. So if you are making a goal, for our purposes tonight, we'll say that there are 2 reasons why you could make a goal, and there are many, many different reasons or ways that you could look at this and break it down. But the 2 main reasons that I want to look at are, one, it's something that I really want or know that I need. It's something that's going to really impact me in a great way. The actual activity or progress that I'm making in that activity is something that I really want, that's important to me, or something that even though I don't feel like doing is something that I know on some deeper level is good for me. But the other reason could just be I want to practice setting goals and achieving them. And I've had a couple of these, and let me tell you, it is absolutely empowering beyond belief to set a goal that is achievable. And oftentimes if you set something that's like right outside of the realm of comfort, but it's still something that you can do and you do it, whatever it is that you accomplished with that goal, if it was sleeping for a certain amount of time, or if it was meditating, or if it was eating, the way that you want to eat or whatever, all of that stuff is great, but the fact that you're taking power over your ability to do something and just doing it and refusing to take the easy way out and refusing to give up. So my suggestion to you is that you don't actually need to want to sleep that much in order to get it done. What you need is the ability to do things that you don't feel like doing. And so this is like what I was talking about last week, right? So some days you're going to, let's say that your goal is, I wanted to be healthy, so I'm talking about what I'm eating. Say I'm eating vegan this year. And your goal is to do that, but you wake up today and you just need a hamburger. I mean, nothing has ever been more necessary in all of my life than for me to eat a hamburger. Today it must happen. I'm going to faint if I don't eat a hamburger. And maybe there's a medical issue going on, but let's take that out of the equation. It's just like, I don't feel like being vegan today. I feel like eating a hamburger. And that's going to happen to you. I know this. I know this is going to happen. So you can at that point say, you can make an excuse for yourself. You can say, it's just too hard today. You can say, you might start looking and say, like, well, I heard about this one person who didn't eat a hamburger when they really wanted one, and then they got, some terrible health issue because of it, and just start making excuses for yourself. Or you could say, I really want a hamburger, and I'm not going to do it because I am a master over my emotional state, over my mental state, because I either have the ability to flip it and say, yeah, this is even more important and better for me, that I really crave this hamburger, yet I'm refusing to eat it. And you can also just take all that out of the equation, like I said last week, which is just to make a decision when you are in a higher state and then stick with it, whether or not you have the motivation, and in fact, more importantly so when you don't have the motivation, more importantly when it doesn't feel easy or even like borderline possible for you to do it. You're just going to do it anyways. So I wanted to spend the last few minutes just discussing this, and if the rest of you that have goals, just remember them, go to work on them when you're at home, and I really would love to hear about them. So if you want to raise your hand in class, tell me about it. Great. So this is a concept that I've heard in a couple of places. One of the most recent one was at a landmark forum, like weekend, years and years ago. But the idea of having a very strong relationship with your word, where if you say you're going to do something, you do it. This is very, very useful for setting goals. One of the pieces of advice that I always give every year is tell as many people as possible, because they're going to help keep you and hold you accountable. The more people that know about it, the more people are like, hey, did you do that thing you said you were going to do? And you either feel guilty because you didn't do it and then you do it, or you get to say, yes, I did, and that feeling keeps you going. But that is still kind of relying on outside influence, which is certainly helpful, and I still suggest you do it. But I want you to imagine for a second that anytime you decide you're going to do something, you say you're going to do it. Writing it down is best, but even if you're just keeping it in your mind, you know that you have decided to do this thing. You give your word for it, even if it's just giving your word to yourself that you're going to do this. Then you do it. And it is honestly as simple as that. Like what I was talking about last week, being able to get beyond the need for motivation is simpler than I'm making it sound. It's literally just you want to do the thing, so you do the thing without having motivation being the middleman. You just go right to work and do it. Well, having this first step where you're giving your word to something and you are deciding for yourself in clear-cut terms, this is what I'm doing, and I absolutely refuse to give up on my word. I said I was going to do it, so I do it no matter what. And then you can also look at it like I'm honoring my word. If I said I was going to do it, I skipped a day, I'm still honoring my word. I'm accomplishing it to the best of my ability by going right back up to it and not missing another day for the rest of the year. This is so powerful. If you become able to set something out, give it your word that you're going to do something, and then you accomplish it no matter what. And like I said before, even possibly more importantly, you don't accomplish it perfectly exactly the way that you wanted to. You stay unattached to that, and you just honor your word, and you keep going after it, no matter what the hiccups or breakdowns were. This is so incredibly powerful, because now anything that you say you're going to do, as long as you have thought about it beforehand and you know that this is actually something that's achievable, you say you're going to do it, well, now you just do it. And it becomes this automatic thing where it's like you are this, I hesitate using the word robot because it makes it seem kind of like too stiff, but you could think of it like that. You're a goal-achieving robot, or you are an achieving of whatever it is that you set out to do. You don't even have the ability because you are lacking the programming to fail. You have a button on the side of your head, and you've got this idea, this thing that you've said you're going to do. You've given your word to something. You press the button, and it is impossible for you to fail. It is impossible for you to not just go out and do the things that you need to do. It can become as automatic as that. And this is one of the reasons why I like to say you start off with reasonable goals. You start off with something that I know I can do. So maybe rather than going from 0 minutes of meditation a day to an hour of meditation every day, I go from 0 to 10 minutes, or 0 to 5 minutes, or 0 to 1 minute, because it's the act of doing that one thing and giving your word to it and accomplishing it that makes it so easy to repeat, to replicate. And you can do this next year, or you can do this with something else for the rest of this year. So this is what I'm suggesting to you guys, and this is what I'm going to challenge you with, is you have something, even if it's just one goal. Setting one goal is better than setting 50 goals. If you've got this method down, then you can set a couple of goals. That's great. But make it something that you can do. Give your word to it. Refuse to give in. If you get a hiccup or a bump in the road, honor your word and go right back to it. And turn this into something that you do as automatically as just walking down the street. I don't have to think about putting my right foot in front of my left foot anymore. I just do it because I've done it so much. It's not even habit, it is just who I am. It's what I do. So get to work on that, because even if you spent this year accomplishing something minimal, like I meditated 1 minute every single day for the rest of the year, that method, that ability to stick to something, that ability to set a goal and achieve it no matter what, is something that then goes out into the rest of your life and makes you all powerful. So this is the way that you can achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. You just do it, you set your word, you accomplish it, and then make this just a part of who you are. And now we're way past time, so sit comfortably.